back a little bit to the morning session because I'm not an expert of crops, climate, of food. I'm more an expert in how to do the work. So this morning we heard what has to be done. And I'll try to show you what GTZ, the German Agency for Technical Cooperation, which is working mainly on behalf of the Ministry of Development Cooperation in Germany, how GTZ is doing its work, so how we are getting into tangible results. I'm not doing it on the food item, I'm doing it generally, and that's where I'm trying to bring you in. That was even the item which was asked to be presented here. So I'm going to rush through the global context because we heard about it, and then I'm trying to show what does this mean for the partner countries we are working together, the implications for development cooperation in general, and how GTZ is responding to these changes. I have then some illustrative examples of recent GTZ work which shows how modes of delivery in development cooperation changed, and I will finish and summarize up with the conclusions. So the global context. Economic globalization drives the world closer together. Sometimes I'm thinking that economic globalization is very fast. In the last 15 years, it's a very quick development we are observing, and political globalization is not really following in the same pace. So sometimes I have the feeling that something about 15 years ago we freed the genie in the bottle, but politics are still behind track to steer or to steer the genie in his dance he's doing at the moment. So we are speaking about the bottom billion. The losers and those left out seem to be the negative side effects, integrated negative side effects of globalization. We have affected countries often linked with fragile conditions and violent conflict. The dominant production and consumption patterns are unsustainable, we see it at the moment, not only concerning food, concerning water, concerning energy. The climate change, we just had the presentation, which is very much liaised with all these problems. The competition for and conflicts about scarce natural resources, we just heard about it at the moment as well, which have only just started. And we, as an implementing agency, we feel in the field really as well the new security agenda since 2001, where we get into new cooperations concerning stabilization of fragile environments, terrorism and counter-terrorism in Afghanistan, for example. What does this mean for partner countries? For many countries, achievement of MDGs is at risk. We know it today. Very likely that many countries will not achieve the MDGs like we said we want to achieve until 2015. Again, the countries which will make it may backslide later. Some countries will benefit from finding their niche in managing global markets, from high-risk export prices for natural resources, extractive industries. They will benefit, but it's a few of them. At least some time they will benefit of it. Others will regularly experience negative repercussions. High import prices, consequences of climate change, instability, etc., with volatile prices. In view of the structural big picture problems, more is needed than increased development finance. It's not only a matter of money. Radical shift in both of developing and developed countries is needed towards a truly global partnership. We spoke about partnership in the morning. involving a very broad set of actors, private, public, civil society, think tanks, regional commissions, etc. New policy fields have to be tackled, have to be integrated. We have to think about much more about the complexity and integrated approaches. Multilateral agreements. Strengthened global governance and policy coherence in developed countries are needed. Expanded, reinvigorated multilateral agreements, more enlightened national legislation, and greater policy coherence. We heard this morning as well. Structural changes in developing countries. Improvements in governance and development orientation. Improved capacity for policy reform, systemic resilience to shocks, social protection, enhanced voice also at an international level. Implications for development cooperation. Global relevance of ODA diminishes vis-à-vis other sources of finance. We just saw the figures in the presentation before concerning foreign direct investment. It's much more important, getting much more important than ODA. So we are here concerning ODA, but there's something else which is moving. Yeah? Non-traditional aid channels, non-DAC donors, the new donors coming on the scene, private foundations. Scaling up of aid, while necessary, is only part of the solution. We have to think beyond financial resources for national poverty reduction strategies. The big picture problems require political answers. Multilateral agreements and their implementation at national local level, especially also at local level, not only national. Domestic political interests enter the stage. Global business interests as well. From development cooperation, we are moving to international cooperation for sustainable development. Other domestic policy fields become involved or take the lead. Security, external affairs and defense, food markets, agriculture, consumer protection, climate change, environment, we heard it, internal affairs, migration for Europe. It's a subject, a very important one. E.g. in 2001, about 13 or 15 German federal ministries maintained external relations. And there's a sectoralization of ODA. You see it in the figures for Germany, for example. Only 70% at the moment is executed by our Ministry of Development Cooperation. And the part is increasing, which is going to be implemented by other ministries, other sectoral ministries, environment, etc., which are coming onto the scene. New roles and functions occur while making use of experience and comparative advantage of development cooperation, because we have an experience of 40 years, and that's what we're going to bring into this new context. Coordination of policy fields, national and multilateral, and coalitions of actors. For example, public-private partnership. I didn't hear this morning so much, or until now. Getting into liaison with the private economy, much more than we do at the moment. Foundations, I mentioned this already. Convening standards of development cooperation, where we had already the experience, and passing the experience and operational know-how to other policy fields. How is GTZ responding to these changes? That's a short introduction to GTZ. I rushed through it. Our mission is the international cooperation for sustainable development. Economic growth for more prosperity, equal opportunities for rich and poor, north and south, man and woman. Natural resource use for the benefit of the present and future generations. We have 4 main business lines which we developed, or we added in the last years, in the last 10 years. First, our core business line was capacity development, but we added at the moment networking and dialogue platforms, supporting them, yeah? Developing them and supporting them. Management and logistics services is coming back. That was a service line we had at the beginning, but it's coming back at the moment, especially in fragile states and failed states, because we are asked to get in. Policy advice for German ministries and other clients directly, without a financing part in between. So, for example, for Brazil or other countries which are coming onto the scene, where we are working directly together with them. I have an example on this later on. The business volumes show trends towards diversification. That's clear. About 63% of our turnover is still coming from the Ministry of Development Cooperation, but already the other nearly 40% are coming from others, other federal ministries, co-financing from other donors, and GTZ commissions from financial institutions and foundations and partner countries directly, without donors in between. The trusted principles of GTZ, of how we work, is as relevant as ever. So we have a holistic approach, systemic and multi-actor, local, regional, national, global. It's very similar to what IFPRI is doing in research field and how it is liaised to the different levels. And cross-border approaches, linking of sector expertise, organizational development and policy advice. The process. We are dealing with open process. It's a difficult issue because we are getting commissions on tangible results, but at the same time we have to persuade client and financing party that we have open processes, that at the end we have to have the flexibility to change within the process very, very quickly in implementing. So we are facilitating partner without our agenda. We are building on their ownership. We are trying to see how to increase capacity in their own capacity of solving and reacting on problems. Supporting negotiating processes of societal actors in search of our solutions. Professional change management oriented towards result. The value orientation, that's clear, as a government-owned non-profit organization. We stand for human rights, good governance, transparency and democracy, gender and poverty reduction in our partner countries. I've got here 7 illustrative examples to show how the modes adapted in the last years. I will only go into the detail of 2 of them, but I present you just to give an overview of the modes. Some examples, for example, the Cotton Made in Africa program, which we're doing with other partners. All of our projects at the moment are more and more implemented with other partners, in partnership with other implementing agencies and donors. It's a multi-actor, multi-level collaboration along the cotton value chain, from the producer to the market. The Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, I spoke yesterday evening on this with an IFPRI member. It's CADAP. IFPRI, I think, is in that well. Support to policy and investment planning at African, regional and country level. We are supporting the Secretariat in Bonn of the Global Donor Platform for Rural Development. I think Mr. Kohlmeier is going to speak about it in the afternoon. The Global Microcredit Facility, which is still under preparation. It's a large program which shows how we can scale up, not only financially, but in implementation, small pilot experiences on a large scale. Yeah. Restructuring of policy force in Afghanistan, that we are back to security because we can't go on the field for food and for production of food as long there is no security. That's where we are liaising and integrating security approaches in very difficult environments. The training to strengthen the National Audit Office in Bulgaria, facilitating peer support for EU accession members. That's a very successful mode of operation, which I think the EU Commission wants to transfer not only to accession members, but especially to neighboring countries of the EU, Mediterranean Sea, etc. And that's where we see very new approaches in dealing and getting together governments. The regional project to combat HIV and AIDS in Latin America and the Caribbean, that is a project or an example, would be an example for the new triangular cooperation, where We are working with Brazil to get their experience, their adapted experience already to the Dominican Republic, for example, or Peru. And where we are working directly in liaison with the Brazilian government on this. So to strengthen capacity of South-South cooperation. I will go into two examples. That's the one on the cotton made in Africa, just to show what is our role, and the next one, the CADAP. In sub-Saharan Africa, we have 20 million people who live on the cultivation of cotton. Low world market price, subsidies, delayed payment of smallholders, and often bad working conditions reduce the contribution of cotton to poverty reduction. Cultivation methods are often not sustainable. Conventional approaches to introduce social and eco-labels did not have expected broad impact. That's a program which is it's not only to one country, it's to Western African countries which are producers of cotton. What is our role in that? It's the supporting development of an integrated value chain from cotton towards clothing production with eco-label. Creating in the German market, but also in the European market, not only the German market. Creating business linkages between African countries and trade interests of big retailers, Tom Taylor or Otto in Germany. Supporting farmers with ecological adapted production methods. And promoting ecologically and socially sustainable cotton production in sub-Saharan Africa in general. So to contribute to tangible improvement of smallholders' income through fair prices. The last example is the one on CADAP, which I think is a very nice one because we are going to see in the afternoon the one where we are in a supporting role to coordinate the donor side in agriculture, and this one is, let's say, the mirror on the partner country side. We provide there, I go directly to the role because the problem statement is more or less set. We provide support and technical assistance to the fully African-owned CADAP at different levels. That's very important to work at all levels. Yeah? On the AU level, on NEPAD level, or on the regional economic commissions level, but also on the national and local level. There is a whole link from AU down to the local level in the countries. We enhance capacities of NEPAD and selected regs to implement regionally coordinated, coherent agricultural policies, in particular agribusiness. That's the pillar 2 of CADAP. We have a joint approach of GTZ and Invent, and IFPRI, of course, seems to be in as well, based on the existing cooperation within the framework of NEPAD, AU, and the regs and multi-donor support. We support to mediating, linking and integrating local, regional, and Pan-African policy levels. I go through those examples and come to the conclusions. The big picture problems bring other policy fields, new actors, and domestic interests onto the stage. From classical development cooperation, we are moving, from our point of view, of an implementing agency point of view, more and more to international cooperation, because we are integrating different policy fields in our approaches, in our modes of delivery. International cooperation is shaped by different policy fields, government departments and multilateral institutions, agreements. Implementation of international cooperation entails new roles and functions for development cooperation agencies. For GTZ, as provider of technical cooperation services, new tasks, modes of delivery and collaboration arrangements occur, but we build on the long-standing experience and approaches, intervention know-how from development cooperation with partner countries, so to maintain contact to the local level for the bottom billion. And in order to deliver tangible results, we increase their own capacity to improve their own situation.